Hi, I'm Michael Sazin, the Parrot Wizard, and I'm joined here with Christine Wood from Christine's Chop Shop
Hi.
in Arizona, and we're going to find out about what it's like running a chop shop.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun.
So, what is a chop shop? Is that where you take in cars and dismantle them?
No, I've been asked that a couple of times. No, we started the chop shop by making chop for birds, mostly for my flock. And it kind of grew because my friends and Ginger and Dr. Driggers and everyone in the avian community in Arizona saw that it was a good thing. And so we decided to share it with everyone, and the chop shop was born.
Oh, great. And what's the good thing about it? What's the benefit?
The benefit is there is very little nutritional items out there for birds. Many people believe that a seed or pellet diet is healthy without any variety. I've learned from several mentors how important vegetables mostly, whole grains, sprouted grains, and more healthy items are for these birds. They're going to be caged the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a bird that's on a seed diet, and that bird is probably going to die of a fatty liver disease from the seed diet because they're too high in fat. So I worked with a couple different veterinarians and tried to develop a few products that were going to be healthy. Dr. Driggers has been one of my biggest mentors. He suggested a 100% vegetable-based chop, without the fruit, without the grains, all of that. And that's how we started the chop shop, was by making the chop, and then we kind of expanded from there. Now I probably have 20 or 30 different products, and they're all health-based. There's nothing in there that a bird should not have. There's nothing in there in any of the items that are even questionable.
Like what? What kind of things should a bird not have?
Oh, good way to put me on the spot. Well, sugar, salt, anything super high in protein, meat products. A lot of people will feed their birds chicken.
Well, a little chicken here and there is probably okay, right?
A little bit here and there within reason is absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
My birds have had chicken bones, just for fun for them to snack on, but not as a regular part of their diet. They need what they would get in the wild. And what they get in the wild is vegetation. They do get seeds in the wild, but they're not what people call bird seed. You don't go to a grocery store and buy a bag because it says bird seed and think that it's okay to feed the bird. They need a huge variety, just like we do as humans. The larger variety in your diet, the healthier you are going to be.
When it comes to feeding them a veggie diet, which kind of veggies are can parrot owners give their birds that are going to be beneficial to their bird? What are some of the best veggies, and what are some that you should avoid?
Some of the best veggies are dark leafy greens. Any of the greens, carrot tops, beet tops.
The tops that nobody eats?
The tops that nobody eats. Yeah, it's really good for them. Chard, bok choy, which is not quite a dark leafy green, but that's also very high in nutrition. Any of the fancy lettuces, the dark leafy greens have the most nutrients, and it's best for the parrots. It's lower in calories, and so they're not going to have, you can feed them more. Mm-hmm. If you give them the dark leafy greens. It's got the nutrients. You also need to feed, especially if you have an African gray or a cockatoo, one of the dusty birds, they need a diet that's higher in calcium. Broccoli is great. It's high in calcium. So is kale. Kale is one of top ingredients in everything that I feed my birds. Mm-hmm. I not only feed them all of the products that I make, but they get a fresh vegetable breakfast every day that I prepare for them. So it's important. The variety is very important. A large majority of parrots have vitamin A deficiencies. They need produce that's high in vitamin A. Mm-hmm. The dark winter squashes, the dark orange ones, butternut squash, acorn squash, all of those, the hard squashes, those are really high in vitamin A. cantaloupes if they want something a little sweeter, carrots,
What do all those have in common?
vitamin A,
Well,
and orange.
The orange color.
Yep.
So the orange color gives that vitamin A away.
Yeah, it does. And that's something that's really important to try and supplement your parrot's diet with. I cannot preach enough how important variety is, because each item might have a lot of vitamin A, but it doesn't have a lot of something else. And so you want to go with broccoli to get the calcium, the kale to get the calcium, and all of the other nutrients, the vitamin C. And it's really important to just keep mixing it up.
What about, you said kale and all these leafy greens and the carrot tops. What if a parrot doesn't want to eat that? I mean, they're pretty picky. Especially a parrot that's coming off of a seed diet, or a parrot that's only eats the yellow out of the supreme. How the heck are you supposed to be able to get them to eat this other good stuff if they're not even going to look at it?
I've helped a lot of people convert their birds. Persistence. Absolute persistence every single day. Continue to offer it. Try to make it appealing. Try different size pieces, different shapes. If you have a leaf, hand them the leaf, let them forage for it. Or chop it up in little tiny pieces and mix it in with something else that they do like. A lot of things that I have 5 African greys. Very rarely do you find something that they will all eat. But if I find something that one of them just doesn't like, I'm going to chop it up really small, and I'm going to hide it in something that I know she will eat. Most of them do like mashed sweet potatoes. That seems to be a favorite everywhere. I also recommend to people, try a little dollop of unsweetened applesauce. Don't get the one that says sugar-free, because usually if it says sugar-free, it has artificial sweeteners. That's poison to these birds. So get something that says unsweetened. Make sure there's no sugar or corn syrup or anything like that in the ingredients. Put a little dollop of the applesauce on top of something that they don't care for. But do it every single day. Be persistent. Be consistent in offering them something, and sooner or later they're going to break down and they're going to eat it.
On the flip side, if somebody has a very, very stubborn bird that just doesn't go to it, should they worry that their bird isn't eating the kale? Should they freak out about it, or can they find alternative?
Find alternatives, yeah. Find alternatives. You can do your research. Google, if you get a list of the nutrients that's in kale, find something that is like that. Maybe chard, one of the other dark leafy greens, one of the lettuces, has something that's comparable, and add something else, and sooner or later they're going to eat it. Find other ways to offer it to them. I dehydrate. I had a problem feeding my birds my leafy greens, so I made a powder out of it, and now I sprinkle it on their food when they're really giving me a bad time. Also keep in mind that when a bird is in the wild, their diet consists of what is growing wild and what is available to them during a specific season. So a bird that's captive is going to have an appetite that will generally change with the seasons. And so they may not like something today and they may throw it on the floor, and tomorrow they're going to eat it like it's the favorite thing in the world.
So you shouldn't just say, "Oh, they don't eat this," and you stop giving, and then when they finally want it, they don't have it.
And that's what I mean about persistence. You have to just continue to offer it to them, because sooner or later they're either going to like it, or the season's going to change a little bit, and they're going to think, maybe this belongs in my diet. I would say probably 99% of these birds out here that are deemed picky are not picky. People just are not aware of how to offer them different things. And if they don't like it the first time, or maybe even the second time, they think their bird is just picky and they kind of give up. And that's where it's important for the health of your bird to continue to offer them a variety of things and change it up. You just never know what they're going to like.
Right. And how many bowls do Christine's birds get? And what's in them?
Every single morning they get a bowl with some steamed grains, or we have a sprouted blend. I will steam that. I cook it like rice, and I also cook it with some of my homemade chop in it. I do everything I can to add vegetables to their diet, no matter what it is. If it's Birdie Bread, if it's biscuits, if it's grains, I'm going to throw extra vegetables in there and disguise it the best I can. That's going to help. They always get a little scoop of grains or some pasta. I have some bird healthy pasta. It's made with red lentils, black beans, yellow lentils, ancient grains like quinoa, barley, brown rice, that kind of stuff. And so birds like to eat people food, and people like to feed their birds people food. It's a shared meal. Birds are very social eaters. If you sit down with a plate of food, they're going to want to have what you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So I've developed some products that are like human food. I've got the pasta, and I'll always mix vegetables with that. They'll get a small amount of what we would call carbs, ton of vegetables. I will usually use mashed sweet potatoes, some steamed carrots, something that's like a mash, because they like making a mess. They like something soft in with it. They like something to fling on my walls every day. So I have something to do in the afternoon. And then there's always dark leafy greens in there. Regardless of what kind of dark leafy greens. And I'm always finding other things. You can feed them fresh herbs. You can feed them any kind of vegetable. Jicama is a wonderful, crunchy vegetable. You can cut it into strips, and they love to hold on to their food. And it's super healthy for them. Radishes, mini bell peppers, you can skewer them. So there's always an abundance of color in my Parrot's food dish. They get something fresh every single morning, and then before I leave for work, I take that out of their cages, and they have a couple other bowls and a couple other foraging things in their cages, and so I'll hide a couple of nuts in their foraging things to make them work for that. And then they get my dehydrated goodies because they don't spoil. I'll keep those in the cage during the day, so they have more vegetables. They're either dehydrated or freeze-dried.
So you don't want to be leaving the wet vegetables around all day when you're not home.
No, they can get bacteria on them. It's not healthy for them. So I always take the fresh food away before I leave. And if you can leave it in the cage for a couple of hours, depending on the temperature. In Arizona in the summer, if they're outside, you don't want to leave it for a couple hours. But the fresh food doesn't stay in there all day, and that was another reason why I started dehydrating and freeze-drying my ingredients. These birds need to have something besides pellets to eat all day long, something healthy. And you can leave this in the cage for a day or two for a couple reasons. They're not going to spoil. And if you have a bird that is either afraid of something new in their cage, or they're saying they don't like it, you can leave it in their dish for a couple of days and give them the chance to get used to something different. Sooner or later, I think their curiosity is going to get to them, and they're going to at least try it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they get vegetables all day long.
Okay, so Christine, do you have dried fruit and things like that in your mixes?
Absolutely. Not in my chop in particular, but we do offer freeze-dried and dehydrated fruits. Because fruit is also important. It's great for a treat. Birds love fruit. People love fruit. Everybody needs a little snack once in a while, and this will give them a snack, but it's still on the healthy side. So yeah.
Why is it not in the chop mix though?
Well, mostly at the advice from Dr. Driggers, because again, the birds are caged. They don't get the exercise that they used to out in the wild. Many of our birds are not flighted, or they're flighted and they don't get the exercise that they used to. We call this low energy, and so it's low calorie. There's not any grains or fruits or anything like that. I believe that fruit should be a snack, just like for us human beings. Fruit is very healthy, and you need the vitamins from it, but it should not be given very liberally.
Not as a staple of the diet. Not in like the daily mix where I've seen some mixes where it's a lot of dried fruit and seeds, and then you're giving candy to a 6-year-old, right?
And much of that dried fruit in those mixes have either been dried with chemicals, or they've been sweetened, or there's preservatives. I don't use any of that.
You don't use preservatives?
No.
So how do you make sure that when your chop mixes reach the customer, or by the time they get eaten, that the bird isn't going to be harmed?
We rotate the stock, and I keep track of when the batches go out. With the dehydrated vegetables, it has a shelf life, they say, of up to 2 years. I don't ever suggest that. I tell people it will be fine in an airtight container for a couple of months. After that, I would store it in the freezer and pull it out in single servings. With the freeze-dried, it has a much longer shelf life. They say 25 years. Now again, I'm not going to eat something that's been on my shelf for 25 years. And so that's just what study says. But it'll be good much longer. And you can tell if it's not good. If somebody has something that doesn't appear to be right, contact me immediately, and I would always exchange it for something that is fresh and right, because that's really important to me.
Oh, good. And so what can you tell me about these foraging cups? How do you use them?
Well, and I was really excited after your talk the other day when you were talking about how important and enriching foraging is for a bird. A bird is happiest when he's working for his meal. It's just the fact of life. I did my research, and this was several years ago, and I found these little containers. I have them in 2 separate sizes. This is the smaller one. I have a 7 ounce. This is a 4 ounce. The 7 ounce is larger for macaws and larger cockatoos. They are 100% organic plant fiber. These are made out of wheat fiber, and they are perfectly safe if a bird chews on it and possibly swallows a little bit. I sell these by the dozen, and we also have what we call Pop and Chop. It was our fun little version of a TV dinner for a bird.
Oh, really?
They come in either single servings, or you can buy a dozen of these, and they come with pre-measured chop, which is dehydrated vegetables. Also, in our chop, there is a minimum of 25 different vegetables in here. Now, they do change seasonally, but again, I can't preach variety enough, and I live what I preach. And like I said, there is a minimum of 25 different kinds of vegetables in here. So what we do is we grind up the vegetables in a food processor, and I'm just going to pour a little bit in here. Normally you would have it already
Do you top
measured.
the cup to the top?
Nope, just a little bit in the bottom, or however much. Now this is going to, wait until wait until we reconstitute it a little. It'll be a little tastier.
So do you wet it inside the cup?
I do, and the cup will hold water. I have left water, and even though these look like cardboard, I've tested it to see how long it will hold water without sweating and leaking, and I've had water in here for about 48 hours, and then it starts to get a little soft.
Oh, so it's not in the middle of the day. It's
No.
not just like,
Yeah, it'll be just fine. And so what I do is I add equal parts of the chop and warm water. This is not quite warm. And then we just let it, put the lid on and shake it up for a couple minutes, and we can let this sit, and the vegetables are going to plump up. These will usually reconstitute. Everybody says, well, I paid this much money and I got a bag that small. Remember, when you add water to this, it's going to grow about 3 times the size of what you have.
Oh, so this is like a big bag of food, basically.
Yeah, this is a big bag. And I can see that they're already starting to soften and expand. And usually with warm water, it will expand a little quicker. Or you can even put this in the microwave for 10 seconds. Be careful not to do it any longer than that. We don't want any burned crops. And make sure that it's completely cool. And then once it's done, toss it in the food dish and walk away. They're going to tear this apart to get their chop.
Are they going to take the lid off, or are they going to chew their way into it from the side?
I put it in like this, and my bird will eat through it. For one of my birds, she likes taking the lid off and playing with it. It's excuse me, it's a little foot toy for her. It depends on what your bird likes. I might have added a little too much water, but you can see that it's getting...
Oh wow, it's like almost like regular vegetables now.
You can have a little taste now if you want. It's a little better. It does better with warm water. I actually use this for vegetable soup. I'll add it to some chicken stock or vegetable stock, and it's dinner. Seriously, it's really good. They're just vegetables. So this is a full serving for one of my African greys, and they're getting 25 different kinds of vegetables. Sometimes there's up to 35 different vegetables. What we use is all seasonal. and locally sourced vegetables. I know a lot of vegetable farmers in the valley, and I know where to go and buy the vegetables and when they're in season. I don't get all of them from the farmers. I do have a restaurant supply store where I buy some of the organic products that I get, but my birds would have a blast with that.
And so they'll just kind of pick at it throughout the day and play with that.
Yep. And they'll eat through this, and it's a nice way for them to work for their meal. They're happy with that.
And so this is not paper, so you're saying that this is an edible material?
I don't want to call it edible, just in case, but it is 100% organic plant fiber. This one is wheat fiber, the other ones are sugar cane. And I would allow my birds to at least chew this and not worry about them ingesting a small amount, because it's not going to poison them. And I double checked my facts with Dr. Driggers. He's my go-to guy for a lot of this stuff, and he loves this idea. Loves it.
And there's no like coatings on it.
There's no coatings. And it's organic. It is organic.
This is better than, let's say, giving them paper cups stacked with food or something, because they might have a liner on them or something like that.
Or the paper's been bleached, or if you give them a cardboard box, there's glue, there's chemical, boxes are stored in warehouses, they spray for bugs where food is stored, all of that. And you don't buy products that say 100% organic boxes. So you never know what you're getting with boxes. You never know what you're getting with paper cups. They've got waxy coatings, they've got chemical coatings to hold in the moisture. And we need that as a society, but the birds don't need that. They do need to forage. It's important to them.
What about for working people who are busy and don't have time to chop up, spend a whole day in the kitchen chopping things up and getting into a whole kitchen thing for them? Like, I'm not much into cooking. I'd rather, buy stuff for my bird that's, suitable for them and healthy without doing all the work. I know some people enjoy it, like it's their hobby. They should probably get a kick out of that, but what other alternatives are there?
Well, and that's exactly why I started this business, to make healthy products, but they have to be convenient, because there's very few of us that have the time to chop 25 different kinds of vegetables to feed to their birds. Then you have the waste. How much of this stuff that we buy do we just throw away because the birds are not eating it? I wanted to make it convenient for people. I have a daily maintenance blend that we just developed about a year ago. It's as complete a meal as you can get. It's 50% vegetables, dehydrated, and then we've added a small amount of nuts, healthy seeds like pumpkin seeds. I even put goji berries. We use coconut. I use some of my bird healthy pasta in it. So it's all different shapes and sizes, and that's what interests the bird. They have to be occupied with something different to look at. Keep their curiosity going. So we've added the daily maintenance to our shop, to help people, instead of throwing a handful of pellets in a bowl, put some of this in there and give the birds some variety. And it's a wonderful addition to a pellet diet.
So when they buy your chop from you, do they have to store it in the fridge? Is it just freshly chopped up and they got to feed it within a few days? How does that work?
It's dehydrated. The chop is, and I'll show you a good view of that. It's shelf stable, meaning you can store it in an airtight container sitting on the countertop, and it's not going to spoil. Weeks, a couple of months, it's not going to spoil as long as it's stored correctly. You have to keep it away from moisture, because moisture causes bacteria, and so you want to be careful with that. You can feed this in single servings. If you've got one bird, give them a spoon or two. Add equal parts warm water, let it sit for a couple minutes, and there's dinner. If you have a whole flock of birds and you don't want to chop up the vegetables, this bag would feed a flock of probably 20 birds once it's rehydrated, reconstituted. And the work is done for you. It's convenient for people who have to work. People feel guilty because they can't feed their birds. They don't have the energy after they work all day long. You have families to feed. You don't have to work that hard to provide good nutrition for your birds. I'll do the work for you.
And
I love to chop.
and what's the difference between feeding fresh vegetables, frozen vegetables, free? This is what you call this?
This is dehydrated.
And I think I also heard of freeze dried. Are there any other ways? And what's the difference between each one?
I don't know if there are any other ways. I can tell you that when I dehydrate the vegetables, and this is very important, you have to do it at a very low temperature, because you can set a dehydrator up to 160 degrees. You're technically slow cooking the vegetables if you dehydrate them at 160 degrees, which you're still going to have the nutritional value, but it's just like having a cooked vegetable versus a raw vegetable. And we all know that raw vegetables retain a lot more of the nutrients. It's the same if you watch the temperature very carefully and it's under 110 degrees, it's still considered raw.
Mm-hmm.
And so you haven't cooked the nutrients out of it. When you freeze dry vegetables or produce, you retain 97% of the nutrients. And so that, again, is considered raw. You just have the storage and the shelf life is what you've added to them, as long as you do it very carefully. And that's really important if nutrition is the main goal.
Mm-hmm. And if you could rank, I guess, healthiest or best to least, I'm guessing fresh is king.
Fresh, yes, fresh organic is always best, in my opinion.
It's the least amount of processing. You just can't beat that. You can't make it better than it came out of the plant.
Exactly. And especially if it is organic. There's no, there's not chemicals and bug killers and anything else that we either have to wash off of our vegetables or risk the birds getting a hold of. And then you can buy other vegetables. They don't have to be organic. Wash them carefully. Use baking soda and water. Use lemon juice. I use lemon juice and water. Just something to wash that film off of the vegetables and the fruit. And then you have the freeze-dried and the dehydrated. If you don't have the time to do it, if you don't want to do it, like I said, we're happy to do it for you.
Well, that's great that there's a way to be able to do it and still ship it to people, because
Yes.
I don't think you could ship fresh and have it,
You can't.
sit and
You can't. And the chop, it took me a while to develop this, because when I first started doing it, I would grind it up a little smaller, and once it was dehydrated, it actually looked like dirt, and it was very unappealing. And so I'm really proud of the chop mix with the new food processor that I use. It's pretty, and you can tell it's vegetables, and that's all it is. And to me, it smells good. Of course, I'm a vegetable lover.
And what's it like running a small business? And how did you get into this? Are you full time? How do you do this? How does this work out?
Wow, I rarely sleep because I do have a full-time job. I do this after work on the days that I work, all day long in the kitchen on my days off. I started this, and this is really important and dear to me. I adopted a little baby African gray. She was only 8 months old. She was so severely malnourished that they didn't think she was going to live. She had less than a 50% chance of living. She couldn't perch. She was calcium deprived. She was eating her feathers. She wasn't just plucking. She was literally eating her feathers.
Oh, terrible.
It was awful. And so I dove right into the research on what is best for these birds, and I started making these products and got on the vegetable diet and all of that. And I went from there. That was to save my little girl, and she's 5.5, almost 6 years old now, and she's thriving. She's absolutely beautiful and near and dear to my heart. And my friends saw how quickly she turned around with a nutritious diet. And how well she's doing and how she was thriving, and they started saying, hey, give me some of that. Okay, and I'm happy to share. It's what I do. And then it got to the point where so many people were asking for my stuff, and I had met Dr. Driggers by that time and showed him what I was doing, and he was so impressed, and he said, why don't you bring some down here and sell it to my patients? All right then. The website went up, and all of a sudden I'm a business owner, and that was never my plan. My plan was to save my little bird.
Oh, wow.
You know, and now I have a flock of 5. I rescue. I work with rescues all over the United States. I help people that are having nutrition issues. Pluckers, the majority of the time, they're plucking because of nutrition. You know.
So how do you have time to chop for your own 5 birds, plus everyone else's that you sell to?
I have lots of great help now. I have 5 part-time employees working with me. I do all of the chopping. I handle all of the food myself. My name is on the packaging, and it's important to me. The quality, utmost quality, is number one. So I handle all of the food, but I have girls that help me with the packaging. They do all of my shipping for me. They manage the office, answer emails, stuff like that. So I manage with the help of my 5 part-time employees. One of them is almost full-time already. And like I said, I rarely sleep. And we have upgraded to commercial grade equipment. I have a couple of robo-coos. I can go through 200 pounds of fresh vegetables in 10 minutes.
Whoa.
You just put that stuff in the chute and out it comes. So, you know, getting a little more modern helped a lot, because when I started this, it was just me and a knife. And I chopped everything by hand.
Whoa.
Now I have slicers, and I have some equipment that helps a lot. I have 9 commercial grade dehydrators going almost 24/7, and I just ordered my 3rd freeze drying machine, and so we're keeping up with it, and the business is growing, and it's so exciting because this business is important to me. I want to do good for the avian community, and that's what I'm all about. Not about being in business. I'm not about making money. I mean, we all want to live. We all want to live nicely. I want to give back to the avian community because, you know, I saw a saying one time. It said something like, we become forever responsible for what we have tamed. And we've taken these birds out of the wild, selfishly. But now they are with us, and they're our companions, and we owe it to them to give them the best life that we possibly can. And I believe through nutrition we can achieve at least a great deal of that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really, really important, and that's my goal.
And do you have any chemical testing, vitamin testing, third-party analysis, or guaranteed analysis of the chop mixes?
No, I do not. I haven't gotten to that point yet. Very soon I will. I know what is healthy and nutritious for these birds, and that's what I use.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am getting to the point where I'm going to have to start labeling differently, because I think it will become a little more commercialized, a little bigger. Right now it's just a home-based business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so as we grow, that is one of my goals, is to have everything analyzed and have a list of all of the ingredients. The problem with putting a list of ingredients on something like this is it changes with each batch and with each season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I may have red bell pepper in here today, and tomorrow when I make a batch, bell peppers weren't available, but zucchini was. The vegetables are going to change with the season, and so we try to keep up with it. It's always fresh. It's mostly organic. I would never say I use all organic, because if I'm trying to make a mix and I can't find something organic, I will use non-organic. I wash everything very carefully, and it's always seasonal. So
all the vegetables that are going into your mixes, they're all washed before they are
heck yeah.
run through the systems.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I wash everything carefully. I buy large boxes of baking soda, and I soak everything in baking soda and water in my sink before we put it through the RoboCoop.
And how do you test or sample your batches?
Test them as in how good they are? I'm not sure what you mean by test them.
Well, do you have do you taste them yourself, or do you have your birds trying them out for you? How do you know that the birds are going to like it?
I don't. But again, there's such a variety in here. And the good thing, and this is probably soaked enough so that you can see what oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, you wouldn't even tell that it came from anything anymore. It just looks like it's freshly chopped.
Yep. And this is what it's going to look like. And there's such a huge variety of vegetables in there.
Mm-hmm.
again, the pieces are very small. You can feed a parakeet one of these, or you can feed it to a macaw. And the beauty of these little pieces is that they're not going to be able to pick out what they like and what they don't, because it's just, you know, it's a nice big mess in there. So, it's proven that my birds eat it. I get reviews all the time. Everybody loves the chop. And at this point, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's working. It's working.
And you said you have a lot of different mixes at this point. You want to tell me what the different types are?
Well, not different mixes. The chop is all one. It's just chop.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a soak and serve, what we call Mega A, because again, the vitamin A is really important, and I've taken all of the vitamin A heavy vegetables and put that in a mix just like
So that's like a supplement, so if somebody's feeding their own stuff but wants more vitamin A, they can use that one.
Yep. And we've also added a little bit of our nuts and spice blend to it. Keep in mind, everything that comes out of my place is homemade. I have a nuts and spice blend. I get the star anise, I roast it. I get the raw almonds, organic. I roast them. I grind them. I grind the cinnamon. We use only Ceylon cinnamon, which is the only safe cinnamon for a bird. Anything else can be toxic. I grind all of this stuff. I mix all of this stuff. We package it, everything right there. So the Mega A has a little bit of the nuts and spice in it, and you smell that star anise, and it's just amazing. You want to eat it yourself. I know I do. It all tastes good. Everything I use is human grade food.
And have you been eating more fruits and vegetables yourself after,
Yes,
as I hear from all parrot owners?
Yeah, I do, only because with my full-time job and with this business is almost full-time, I rarely have time to fix a meal for myself, but I've always got vegetables in my hand, and so whatever I've got going there is going to be on my dinner plate too. And the birds like it too. We share our meal.
And you said that this is all homemade, so are you making these chop mixes at home? Do you have your bird sitting around with you while you're making it?
No, absolutely not. I don't want somebody to find feathers in their bird food. That would be like us finding a hair in our salad. It would be very unappealing, at least as far as I'm concerned. I have 2 master bedrooms. One of them is a bird room. I've got all of my birds up there. We've got perches everywhere. They're not allowed in the kitchen, especially when I'm working on this. We keep everything feather free in the food area. And I do have customers that will contact me and ask if my food is made in a bird-free environment, and I'm completely honest. No, I have a flock of 5 African greys. My birds are tested at Dr. Drigger's office annually for whatever they need to be tested for, so they all have health certificates. Mm-hmm. They've all been quarantined before they were brought into my home, and they do not come near the food. Right, because
That's understandable,
Mm-hmm.
and you wouldn't want to have your baby bird that you had just got and eating, from somebody else's dish, even if it was freeze dried.
Exactly. Yeah, and very, very, very clean, and hygiene is really very important to us.
And if anyone wants to try your mixes, do they have to be in the Arizona area, or how can they get a hold of them? Can they pick them up at their local bird store?
There are several bird stores around the United States that carry my products, and there's a couple in New Jersey. I've been contacted by one in Florida, a couple of veterinary offices, but mostly christineschopshop.com. It's right here. Make sure you put the S, christineschopshop.com. We ship all over the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. We occasionally ship to Canada, but it's a little pricey for shipping. And we ship to Puerto Rico. I would love one of these days to have an export license so that I can ship out of the country. I'm contacted by people all over the world, South Africa, Australia. Why don't you sell your stuff here? Because I can't. Not right now, I can't. Maybe someday. I hope.
And this stuff, because it's dehydrated, it won't spoil in shipping. You can send it to anyone, even in the mail.
And we seal everything either in plastic, or we have the big, for the larger items, we have the big Ziploc type bags, and they seal really good, but we heat seal everything, and so they're airtight. We use priority shipping mostly. Anything over 13 ounces has to go priority, and so the post office says 2 to 3 days. Sometimes it's a little longer, but and we ship twice a week. We will ship on Monday and Friday in most cases. So if you order over the weekend, you're going to get your food by the end of the week.
Well, Christine, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and educate us about vegetable and chop feeding for parrots. I really appreciate you helping out with Ginger's Parrot Rescue and coming to her event. And I wish you all the best. And one more time, how can people get a hold of your chop mix?
Christine'sChopShop.com. Anybody with a rescue, any rescue, anybody who has saved a bird, use the code word rescue in the coupon code at checkout. You will get a 10% discount. It never expires. Use it all the time. We have a wish list on our website. Ginger belongs to it. Several other, All Parrot Rescue in Seattle, the one in San Diego, Parrot Education and Adoption Center. There's a bunch of them out there. The Gabriel Foundation, we just picked them up, and so it's really exciting to be growing. You can go to the website, look at the wish list tab, and if you want to gift one of the rescues with a small or a large box, these people have already chosen what items they prefer we ship to them. We will ship directly to the rescues. We'll include a card saying it came from this person, and it's wholesale prices. We're not here to make money off of the rescues. We just want to help them. And so, Christine'sChopShop.com.
And so when people purchase for their own birds, they're also helping benefit the rescues as well.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm honored to work with all of the rescues. Ginger especially, she's near and dear to my heart. So, and I'm honored to have met you and hung out with you guys for a while. Thanks.
So I'm Michael Sazen, Parrot Wizard, just meeting Christine Wood in the Phoenix area in Arizona, learning about Christine's Chop Shop and about chopping vegetables for parrots. You can visit parrotwizard.com to check out my supplies, and parrotwizard.com/videos for lots more videos about parrot keeping, parrot training, and fantastic and interesting individuals like Christine, Dr. Driggers, and more. So stay tuned.